You all have been asking for Tikka T3X content here on Ultimate Reloader for years. Consider this cool rifle project, Chapter 1. Hey guys, Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. I am really excited about this project. You've seen the Ultradyne UD chassis here on the channel in different forms. We've done the UD3, which has 3 M-LOK slots on the side, the UD5, which has 5 like what we've got here, and the UD7, which has 7 M-LOK slots on the side. We've shown Remington 700 short action, we've shown Remington 700 long action. This is one of the new inlettings. So in addition to those Remington 700 inlettings, Ultradyne has had Savage short action for a while. They've got Voodoo, and 2 new inlettings that are coming include the T3 short action, T3 and T3X, and then also the Howa 1500 short action. Okay, so this video is going to be about taking this UD5, putting it together with the UD adjustable buttstock. We've got the optional bag rider here. We've got a really cool selection of stuff here. The rifle itself is a T3X and 308 Winchester. This is just a basic rifle that we're going to definitely take to the next level, not only with the UD chassis, but we've got a Bix'n anti-Dakota trigger. This is the same trigger that we just used in our 280 AI build that we just finished. Very, very popular. Accurate magazine. Ultradyne sells these. They've got them on the website. We've got an Apollo Max 7.62 brake. If you recall our 30 cal muzzle brake shootout, this is the bad boy that basically won them all. It outclassed all other brakes in terms of recoil reduction, and so I think it's going to really tame down this 308 Winchester. But we've got a sporter muzzle here on the barreled action and no threads. So what I'm going to do is one of our sporter barrel threading jobs. If you're interested in having that done for your rifle, rifles.ultimatereloader.com basically involves threading back twice as far. We've got a shoulder that we're going to install in Loctite in place, and that's going to give us enough surface area here for a brake and a suppressor to lock down and be super, super solid. Okay, we've got the spigot for the UD5. I kind of like this because it extends further forward that built-in Arca rail surface where we can use a bipod with a little bit more overall length, which is a really great option. We've also got a UD double thumb rest grip for right hand, which I'm a right-handed shooter, so that's going to work well. We've got Hawkins Precision. These are the featherweight scope rings for the Tikka T3 and T3X. These are 30 millimeter. They're also available in 1 inch. There's low, medium, and high. These are the medium 0.5 inch height. So I'm going to shop in our scope room in the back for something that's going to work with that medium height and for 30 millimeter. Okay, so here's the plan of attack. I'm going to take this barreled action out of the T3X polymer stock that it comes with from the factory. We're going to do the sporter barrel threading after we remove the trigger. Then we're going to put on the Dakota for Bix'n Andy and then assemble it in the UD chassis, do some shooting, have some fun. So here's the complete rifle. Let me walk you through what we did blow by blow. So the first thing was to disassemble the Tikka rifle, which is very simple. You've got 2 action screws. When you loosen those, the barreled action comes right out of the stock, really easy. And after getting the barreled action out of the stock, I swapped triggers. But before swapping, I actually did some trigger pull testing. This is the factory Tikka trigger right here that comes with the T3X. I just looked at the factory setting. I didn't adjust it up or down or anything like that. And the average of 4 successive trigger pulls with the Lyman trigger gauge was 3.875 pounds. And with just a single screw, you remove the front screw here, pop the Bix'n anti-Dakota trigger on, put the screw back in, torque it down, and that's basically all there is to the trigger install. It's really easy. So I did 4 successive trigger tests at minimum pull weight, and that came in at 0.75 pounds. It's supposed to be somewhere around 0.9 pounds, but I got it down just a little bit more. There's usually a bit more adjustability with the triggers, and you just want to make sure that you do a safety test. And I really like the pull of that Bix'n anti-Dakota trigger. Next, it was time to do my special sporter barrel threading. So I removed the trigger so that I could easily feed it into the spindle of the Precision Matthews PM 1660 TLA. This is the big 1661. I use that because it's really easy to get larger items through, and with the 6-jaw chuck, I don't have to worry about having to support it on the outboard side. I used a little bit of shim stock because there's a slight taper to the barrel here, so the chuck jaws would grip this with uniform force. And basically, process pretty simple. I've shown it here on the channel before, turning back about 1.24 inches and then cutting a thread relief on either end, screwing on the taper nut and Loctiting that in place with high temperature Loctite, the red high temperature Loctite. And then after it's torqued, facing off the front, the shoulder area, because it's not going to torque down perfectly square. And so we square that up and then blue it, and that means we're pretty much ready to roll. And I really like the way that this blended. After getting the barreled action out of the lathe, we went to work getting the UD chassis put together. So the first thing I did there was to screw in the UD adjustable buttstock, and there's a little set screw here that keeps it clocked in the proper orientation, tighten the castle nut. Then it was time to install the Ultradyne grip, and this is just one of these Allen screws that goes up at an angle, just like with an AR, really easy. If you put it on the tip of your T-handle driver and screw that in place, torque that down. That's pretty much it for the assembly of the chassis. The last detail I looked after was to put the spigot on. As you can see, we've got the bipod a little bit further forward, and we don't have to have a full fore end for that. It gives us the option to shorten the fore end to the non-spigot configuration if we choose to, which is actually a really nice option to have. So with the chassis put together, it was time to put the barreled action into the Ultradyne UD5 chassis. And as a part of the main chassis, in the box was some fasteners, front and rear action screws, and then also the tab that goes down into the slot that becomes the recoil lug. So there's a slot in the bottom of the action, and there's a slot in the chassis, and that tab pretty much ties the two together. Kind of a nice design. And so tighten down the action screws. Everything fits great. Regular 308 AICS magazine works really good with this setup. And with the basic rifle together, it was time to turn my attention to the scope. What I found was this Athlon Ares BTR Gen 2. This is the 4.5 to 27 by 50. And so that's one that we've used here on the channel before. I thought that would be a good scope. It's got a 30mm tube. Our Hawkins featherweight rings have 30mm, and this medium height worked out just great. Look at that. It looks really good, I would say. So for the installation of the featherweight rings, you want to remove the caps, and then there's going to be 2 screws that go down into the action. The front ring base has a little cylindrical pin that keeps it in place, and so that goes down, and then you put the front screw in, and the rear screw goes in right through where the cap is, so you have to remove the cap first to install the base. And then same in the back, but there was no locating pin for the back. One of the things that I thought was really important to do here was to just torque these base screws down just a little bit, like finger tight, and then put the scope tube into them, because there's really no angular locating feature here. And so I made some minute adjustments, set it in, and kind of let everything settle so it was perfectly square and straight, and then finished torquing down the bases, and that was 15 inch-pounds. There's a little QR code on the packaging, it takes you to the Hawkins website, and they've got that information there, which is real nice. So to set the scope in place, got it level with my Wheeler scope leveling kit, carefully torqued the caps down, and so scope install was really straightforward. It's really clean with no Picatinny rail. Kind of nice for something different, I would say. And that's the complete rifle, right? The last thing to do is just to screw on the Apollo Max from Ultradyne, and to clock that, we've got this jam nut here, which makes it really easy to get the right clocking. And I love the way it blends in with our taper nut from our Sporter barrel threading. Just a really nice look for the rifle. And like I said, this is the most effective break for 30 cal that we've tested. It is a beast. It will tame the recoil like nobody's business. And so the rifle is just really nice. It's got the bolt is really slick on this thing. And I like the way it feels. So I like the balance of it. And so, you know, with the rifle all together, it was time to go up to 100 yards and get this baby zeroed in. This was hilarious. I did a bore sight on it, and this is what happened. So I have never, in all my years of sighting in rifles, basically gotten it perfect with no adjustments to the turrets. That was literally looking down the bore at an 8.5 by 11 inch target at 100 yards, centering it up, and then getting it centered looking through the scope. So I was pretty proud of myself today for that. The ammo I was using for the sight-in did not shoot super well, however. You know, the group was, I don't know, about like that, something like that. And this was with, you know, military 7.62 by 51 brass, and not all of it would chamber because it wasn't all sized properly, stuff that we had from a long time ago. Fire a few shots to get it sighted in. So we took a few shots with Hornady's 168 grain ammo, factory ammo, Hornady Black, and that shot okay. But then we thought, let's take some of that Alpha Munitions small rifle primer 308 brass that we used for the high pressure project. You got to check out this video. We pushed 308 Winchester essentially to 300 Win Mag. We were at over 100,000 PSI. Do not try this at home. But man, this brass is absolutely amazing. And the small rifle primers are great for those increased pressure situations. So we took some of our Mid-South bulk 175 grain 30 cal bullets, loaded up a great load with Varget, pretty much at max. I did a little research and found out that that was a good load for accuracy. And then we did a little bit more shooting, and this happened. So what really surprised me with that load was the SD of those 5 shots. The last group that I shot was 7.5. I think it was under 20 feet per second extreme spread. So a really promising load, and maybe with a little seating depth adjustment and a little bit of charge weight variation, you know, we could get from, it's probably about an inch or so, maybe down to 3/4 or 1/2 inch with some load development that is not at all unlikely. So loving the way that the rifle is handling and looking. I mean, you got to like this Sniper Gray Cerakote. That is just really, really sharp. So the last thing we did was we took a few shots in our industrial yard at some steel. So that completes our first experience with the Tikka T3X. I really like a lot of the design details with regard to this rifle. And I'll have to say I'm kind of tempted to spin off the 308 barrel, which is pretty much a pencil barrel or a sporter hunting barrel, and maybe try something like a 6GT, maybe with a heavier profile barrel. I think it would look really good in this UD5 chassis, you know, to do something like that. So if you have ideas for us, drop a comment if you'd like to see a particular configuration for a rebarrel on this Tikka T3X, and we will see what we can do. Loving the Ultradyne UD series, the UD3, the UD5, and the UD7, and now with Tikka T3X and T3 coming, and also Howa 1500, it's going to open up a lot more options for you all, you shooters. So if you were going to get one of these Ultradyne chassis, the second question I want to ask you is, what rifle would you put in it, and what cartridge would it be chambered for? Drop that comment. We'll have a discussion down in the comments section. Thanks again for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.